What's good, YouTube? It's your boy TSO Sage, and I'm back with another video. Now, although everybody's excited for the Lakers vs Heat finals, Celtics fans everywhere are just straight up depressed, and half of them don't even know why. Obviously, it's because they lost in the Eastern Conference Finals, but it's more than that. They're trying to figure out why the fuck this happened, why it keeps happening to this franchise. Because the Celtics are a team that are known for being able to shoot the ball very well, have elite perimeter defense, an elite head coach, and a future superstar in Jason Tatum. They're also supposed to have an established all-star point guard, and Gordon Hayward was supposed to be an all-star caliber wing. And this disappointment isn't necessarily new. This has been a 3-year trend now. In fact, even though the team was built the same, it's had major development within those 3 years. A lot of the players they had are simply a lot better than they were 3 years ago, but yet the results are still the same. And I almost mean that literally. They've lost in the Eastern Conference Finals twice in the last 3 years. Last year being the only exception, and they lost in the second round. To sum it up, the shit doesn't make sense, and there's really no excuse as to why this team hasn't made the finals yet. And even though the Lakers fan in me wants to just slander the Celtics for like 10 minutes, I'm actually just gonna talk about what the hell is going on with Boston and why they underachieve consistently. For starters, word on the block is Brad Stevens is actually really overrated. And I'm not gonna lie, even though it's a lot of Celtics fans saying that out of anger, there's actually some truth to that sentiment. Now, he may not be overrated as of today because, again, it's a trend that he's overrated, meaning that he's not really overrated. But prior to the hindsight of the fact that the Heat actually beat the Celtics and Spo simply outcoached them, Brad Stevens was regarded as the best coach in the NBA in a lot of people's eyes. This was a guy that was supposed to be the heir to the throne of Greg Popovich. But he just got exposed by Eric Spoelstra. Because to be frank, and don't worry, the players are still held accountable, but the Celtics are way more talented than Miami Heat. And they got beat by a fucking 2-3 zone. And the roster is made to destroy that shit. They're a good perimeter shooting team. And it's not like they're Houston where only one person can really put the ball on the floor. They have like 5-6 shot creators. Again, the players are held accountable to a level, but there is no fucking way you can't put that on Brad, bro. A 2-3 zone with that roster? That's just unacceptable. And that's not even just my personal opinion or me just going hard on Brad. That is something that everyone has said all year about the Celtics. Hell, for the past 3 years about the Celtics. But in my personal opinion, it's more than just Brad Stevens having his players perform well on the court. In like 2016 or 2017, when Brad Stevens really got established as one of the elite coaches, we pretty much let him fly under the radar for the next 2 years. The reason I say that is because in the past 2 years, the Celtics been on that bullshit on offense sometimes. It's almost a meme how early these niggas will shoot the ball early in the shot clock from like 30 feet out. When your team starts doing shit like that, your players' egos are clearly not in check. I'm not inferring that anybody on the team is toxic, but it's just true. They're not disciplined. Again, this is supposed to be a team with elite ball movement, and yet there's going to be plays sometimes where Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, or Jaylen Brown come down the court, give you an 8-second isolation fadeaway three. And while I'm on the subject of egos, Brad Stevens' own ego needs to get in check as well. His straight up denial, borderline refusal to accept the fact that Gordon Hayward is simply not the same guy he was in Utah is again unacceptable. He's quite clearly pushing Gordon Hayward because of his contract and because the faith he has in him. But the reality is Gordon Hayward is not producing at a starter level, so stop trying to force starter minutes upon him. Even if Gordon Hayward isn't necessarily getting a lot of minutes, he'll be put in the most crucial situations for, I guess, Brad to try to show that, yeah, this is our guy, he's still our guy, or some dumb shit. He's not it. He got injured. It is what it is. And taking it one final step, we all saw this coming. There is no excuse whatsoever for the amount of leads the Celtics blow game in and game out. We already know about the fourth quarter leads that they've blown in this series. Obviously, that shit is egregious, but fuck that. I'm not going back to necessarily check, but I believe in this series, they were even up like 20-22 in the second quarter or some shit, and they just don't put the game away ever against anybody. And I know youth and maturity does play a factor, but I'm still putting that on Brad, bro. You got coaches like Mike Malone and Eric Spoelstra doing that shit with the same youngins. All I'm saying is don't be surprised if Stevens is on the hot seat or if he just straight up gets fired. I'm not saying Stevens is ass or doesn't belong in the NBA. In fact, if Stevens got fired, he'd probably get hired before he could even talk about it. But there's definitely cases in which sometimes a good coach, even a great coach, just doesn't fit with the team. And I'm starting to think that's what's going on in Boston. Remember when they had Kyrie and everyone wrote Kyrie off as being uncoachable and toxic? Well, what the hell is the excuse now? Exactly, there is none. I don't know if Boston necessarily needs a culture change, but Brad gotta show me something, otherwise he gotta pack that shit up. The expectations are too high for them to keep falling so short. And speaking of expectations, let's finally get to the players. And I want to start off with something positive. Jaylen Brown shattered expectations. Outside of Brad Stevens getting exposed, the second most embarrassing thing about this series had to be the fact that Jaylen Brown played his ass off for nothing. Not only did he look like the leader of the team, he also played like it. In the series against Miami, Jaylen Brown averaged 23 points, 3 assists, 7 rebounds on 50% shooting from the 3 and 55 from the field. And this is supposed to be your number 2 option. He's really supposed to be the number 3 option if Kemba Walker stepped up, and I'll get to him in a minute. But this is your number 2 option, who quite frankly looked like the best player on the damn court sometimes. There's nothing negative to say about this nigga. Like, he did everything he fucking could and laid his heart out on that court. A+ performance from Jaylen Brown, and you can't ask for more considering the expectations he already had. The only thing I can personally ask him for is to develop on that, because I'm actually excited to watch him play. His shot selection ain't perfect, but again, the expectations expectations were far exceeded, my god. But two players on the opposite end of the spectrum are no other than Kemba Walker and Gordon Hayward. I hinted earlier that it's not all Gordon Hayward's fault. After all, Gordon Hayward did get injured, and Brad Stevens for some reason is still trying to suck his dick and play him in moments that he has no business playing. But regardless, and I know Boston fans love to defend this nigga, but he's clearly a negative towards the team. He slows the pace down, he's not a bad defender, but he's clearly the worst defending wing on the team, and his game is no longer nice enough for the finesse to take over all of those factors. And on top of that, of course we're all thinking it, that nigga is overpaid like a motherfucker. I don't know how they're gonna escape the contract, but if they can move him or even just simply get rid of him, that would be great for Boston. I get a lot of Celtics fans like him, but he's just not producing at the level that you need him to be at. You can find other players to do a lot more for you. But the Hayward debate has been a thing for like 2 years now. At this point, people are 10 toes down no matter what that nigga does. But I really want to talk about Kemba Walker, because Kemba Walker was supposed to be the guy who's like a little bit worse than Kyrie, but a lot less toxic, right? Kemba Walker, who although is a defensive liability because he's only 6 feet, coming into the season, everyone expected Kemba Walker to be the best player on the Celtics. Not only has he regressed, he's clearly not the best player on the Celtics anymore. But then later down the line, he doesn't even look like the second best player on the Celtics. That looks like Jaylen Brown. Oh, but wait, it gets worse, because there's several games where you look on the court and you're like, damn, Marcus Smart is looking better than him on both sides of the ball. Smart has definitely developed his jump shot. He's a bit overrated of a three-point shooter, and he damn well overrated in his mind because he be jacking that shit. But the fact that there's been several games in this series, let alone all season, where it looks like Marcus Smart is more of an offensive threat than Kemba Walker is unbelievable and unacceptable. And I know Danny Ainge's gonna look goofy as hell if he ends up trading Kemba Walker and Kyrie Irving in back-to-back off seasons. But Jaylen Brown's about to start making that $21 million next season. And next year is the final year of Tatum's rookie contract. Whether you believe in Kemba and you keep him and he has to tighten the fuck up, or you trade somebody, you gotta take advantage of that before it's too late, because it's gonna be the last time you can build a really good roster around Tatum and Brown. I'm not hinting that next season is their last season to be really good, but it's certainly their last chance to take advantage of the fact that Jason Tatum is really cheap and really good. There's really no reason that the two most expensive players on your team are two underachieving, once upon a time all-star caliber players. And while I'm talking about underachievement, Jason Tatum can certainly not be ignored. This guy is not only supposed to be the future of the Celtics, but apparently the future of the NBA. He has all the gifts, physicals, and abilities to be all of that. And unlike most ascending young superstars, he has tons of playoff experience to go with him. But even though the overall numbers aren't necessarily bad, Jason Tatum was clearly only good in the second halves of Game 4 and Game 5. In fact, let me do him some justice and say he was fucking fantastic in those halves. But in order to be the superstar everyone predicts you to be, you have to be more than solid for just 2 halves of the whole series. But honestly, his pure performance wasn't even the most disappointing thing about him. What I was most disappointed in is the fact that Jason Tatum looks nothing like a leader. Jaylen Brown outperformed him in terms of basketball and leadership on that motherfucking court. That's not even a question. But then there were moments where it felt like Marcus Smart was the leader of the Celtics. I take it a step further, and I just got done talking about the nigga. It looked like Kemba Walker was the leader of the Celtics sometimes, and he wasn't even playing good. He was just leading the team. I'm not saying Tatum didn't want to win a ring. Who the fuck would even accuse him of that? But it seems like he didn't want it more than either of those three, even if Kemba played bad. I'm not expecting Jason Tatum to start dotting up and getting assists and shit, but you can lead your team or lead by example or do something to rally the troops. It felt like Jason Tatum was just there to score the ball, nothing more, nothing less. There was no attitude, there was no hype around him. He was just nonchalantly getting buckets. And getting buckets is a strong take because he wasn't as good as he usually is in the series. I'm not saying Tatum was out there looking depressed or looking like he ain't want to play or none of that shit, but it just looked like Tatum wasn't really doing anything in terms of morale for the Celtics. So I guess I'm gonna just end the video with this. The Celtics are beyond talented. That's not even a debate. Sure, they lack depth and rim protection, but they were a finals contender nonetheless. But it's been 3 years now that the Celtics have had this expectation. Something is wrong. And as great as he is, I think most of it has to do with Brad Stevens and the culture that the Celtics have, because they are consistently underachieving and simply playing too immature basketball in the crucial moments of the NBA. And I understand Brad Stevens is a hell of a coach and it's going to be really hard to replace a guy like him, but if he's not getting the job done, you may have to move on. And Kemba Walker and Gordon Hayward have to show the fuck up. They're hoeing the Celtics so bad right now. And as of recording this video, I just heard that Gordon Hayward is probably going to pick up his player option, which I would expect him to do considering it's like $34 million. Yeah, bro, they just got to play better. It's just that simple. Otherwise, Boston got to move them for anything. And I know Jason Tatum is young, but at the end of the day, if a guy like Jaylen Brown, who is supposed to be your co-star, can step up in the big moment, you have to as well. And you have to lead your team. This is officially your team, Tatum. We're coming up on year 4 from Jason Tatum, and he's had 3 deep playoff runs. The expectations are here, bro. You got to get it fucking done. All the chances of Boston making the finals, let alone even being finals contenders to begin with, start and end with you. I'm a fucking Lakers fan, and I'm tired of hearing Boston be a finals contender just for them niggas to fold in the Eastern Conference Finals every time. It's time, Jason Tatum. Be great. We all assume you'll be great in the future, but it's actually time for you to be great right now. But that's gonna do it for today's video. It's been your boy TSO Sage. To be honest with you guys, Boston can honestly suck a dick. I really don't care about them niggas. I'm a whole Lakers fan. But at the end of the day, I can't lie, it was actually something really interesting to talk about. Now, this double upload shit is not going to be a regular thing. I did this for my 200 subs special. If you guys didn't see the last video, yes, I hit 200 subs very recently, and I'm really excited about it. Thank you guys so much. You guys put in the work on that sub button, so I had to put in the work for y'all niggas. I love all of you. But I think it's time for your boy to go ahead and get some sleep. So it's been your boy TSO Sage. If you like the video, don't forget to like the video. And if you like my content, don't forget to subscribe. It means a lot. And of course, comment below if you want to debate about anything. I get active in that motherfucker. But I hope you guys have an awesome day. I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay blessed.